What is up, everyone? Welcome to another daily crypto market update. Welcome to November. I guess we did do a November video yesterday, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and talk about what is going on within the market so far and what is there to be genuinely concerned about. We're going to be, of course, going into that today. I'm going to be sharing with you guys my concerns, where I personally see things going here these next couple of days to next couple of weeks. These are kind of things that we've been talking about these past couple of days if you've watched those videos, but maybe this is an idea that you guys could have. This is just my personal opinion, so you guys are going to see basically my thoughts on the market. Now, if you had watched the previous 2 days or previous couple of days, we had gone over the idea that we would see some sort of pullback within the market. This is something I brought up last week, and lo and behold, we of course saw a pretty good pullback here today, Monday, November 3rd. We saw a very, very significant pullback because of what this essentially means for the markets per my look. And yeah, realistically, it does not look good in my opinion, and that is something we've brought up time and time again recently, but I really wanted to cement it into there. So let's go over some coins here and realistically go and discuss exactly what I think are personally going to happen with these. First of all, we're going to touch up on Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin here, as you guys can see, we had this trend line drawn out here that price was clearly respecting. We just closed below this trend line. Now, the thing with this trend line is you could draw it out here, you could draw it out here, right? Or you couldn't draw it out there. You want to draw it to the point of most touches, which would include this wick, and we clearly closed below this, right? So this is concerning to say the least. And if you were like, oh, well, if it was the point of most touches, we could have drew this trend line up here to include all of these as well. Well, we're still closing below it. And usually what we see with trend lines is we see a pretty big move downwards once price has broken below a trend line. And as you can see here, that is what I think is going to happen next. I think we are going to see some pretty significant downside here in these next couple of weeks. Of course, we just saw a movement down from around 110,000 all the way down to 106,000 where we're currently sitting. That is significant in its own, to say the least, but I think the next area of interest, and the area of interest we've been bringing up here on this channel for a pretty long time now, is this major swing low here at 98,226 and this big support box that we have here as well, right? This big support from 101,500 to $98,000 per Bitcoin, that major swing low. This is the area that I think price is going to come and tap into, and that is potentially where we could look for some longs. I wouldn't want to look for any longs on Bitcoin right now, especially with this trend line breaking. But my personal opinion on where I see Bitcoin going is I see personally we're going to have some movement downwards where we tap this support level, maybe push back up, sweep that major swing low. And it really depends on what we see next. From, in my opinion, one of the biggest key metrics to look for is the weekly EMA, because again, the higher the time frame you go, the more realistically fundamental a lot of our indicators are going to end up being. And if you guys go ahead and see, I mean, even on the weekly time frame, in 6 days, if we close below this, that would definitely even be worse to see, which we could genuinely see happen. But if I go on the weekly time frame, yesterday we had gone ahead and closed below the 12 EMA on the weekly time frame. Yesterday we closed below that, and as you can see, if you would have entered a short at that close at 110,514, you'd have got a nice move down to where we're currently sitting, right? So that is a potential trade you could have made there, but that's just, of course, off one indicator. Realistically, no one's going to do that. But more so what I'm looking for, as you guys can see, in 6 days, we're going to close fully below this 20 EMA on the weekly time frame. We technically closed below it on the last week's candle, as you guys can see here. And then, of course, we got a sharp rejection off of this so far. But, of course, this is just 1 day's worth of price action. We still have 6 days left. But we are clearly rejecting off of that. And as you can see, we have this 50 EMA here on the weekly time frame. So the major concerning part here is that if we come down, and this is the same scenario, I give 2 scenarios. Scenario 1 is that we come down, we tap this support level, but also this EMA, this 50 weekly EMA, we reject off of it, and we potentially keep going higher, which I think is the least likely scenario. I'm just going to be completely honest. I guess, okay, so there's 3 scenarios. So let me explain what I mean by that. We tap it, we reject off of it, and we go higher to potentially form a new all-time high. That is what I think is unlikely. Okay, that's my personal opinion. I think a new all-time high for Bitcoin this cycle is highly unlikely, but that is just my personal opinion. What I do think is more realistic to see is we see if there is a positive reaction to this EMA, we do see a movement up, but maybe only to like 115K before coming back down to then, which third scenario is we come down and we close below this EMA, we come back up, let's say the EMA is here at this point in time, we reject off of it again, and then we come down, sweep that major swing low, close below there, and continue downwards. I think that is a genuine potential possibility. We then of course revisit this 100 EMA on the weekly time frame. If we close below that, then that would be very concerning as well. So we're realistically going to see what's going to happen next. But why am I so concerned about us closing below the 50 or the 20 EMA on the weekly time frame? Well, the last time we had done that was in April of 2025. April of 2025, we were trading below it. We had closed below it early March of 2025, and we kind of stayed under there for a little bit. But we had just recently closed below it October 13th, and we are now back under it yet again after we did close back above, then we closed back below the next candle. And I think, again, like this is a pretty critical level here. This 50 EMA on the weekly time frame is a pretty critical level. Again, the reason for that is because the last time we were trading below that before we came back above it was in September of 2023. Obviously, it's been a very, very long time since then. So that is also pretty concerning, to say the least. Okay, so scenario, we come down. I think like a bearish scenario, we come down close below this 50 EMA, reject off of it, head even lower, test this 100 EMA, maybe get a bounce off it, go and close below the 100 EMA on the weekly time frame, then we're definitely in a bear market. This is a pretty good indicator that we would be in a bear market, us closing below this 50 EMA on the weekly time frame. But if we close below that 100, we're definitely in a bear market, in my opinion. All right, so I think Bitcoin is going to go lower here very shortly. After this trend line break, you could definitely look for a short on Bitcoin, but that's also pretty risky. So specifically regarding Bitcoin, I'm really not looking to make a trade here anytime soon. But the market's been these past couple of weeks favoring shorts. I've been entering some shorts and I've been profiting off of those as well, which I'm very glad to see. But yeah, very dangerous territory here. Then we have Solana. So this is a trade that I actually put on my X that I took. Clearly, we have a trend line that's being respected here. You can see multiple bounces off of it, specifically pretty recently also. We had major candle to the downside that closed below the support, a lot of previous support, and that is essentially where I have my DCA set. So this DCA at $179.64. I entered at market price once this actually went ahead and closed with my DCA set at some of this resistance, and it gets invalidated with this stop loss setup here. And this is just like a long-term short for Sol. I have a demand zone that I've identified right here that I think we could come tap into at around like $65 per Sol. But yeah, that's of course, now that's like, I'm predicting here that we're gonna get a major movement down with Solana, like a major movement down with Solana. So we'll see how this plays out. We're currently in this trade, but I do think Solana is going to just fall pretty hard, in my opinion, specifically because Ethereum looks horrible. Ethereum just looks awful. Yeah, it just genuinely does not look good for ETH at all. If you guys look at the EMAs, we had talked about the 200 EMA being pretty important. Well, we closed below that just yesterday. Off of today's candle, we just closed below the 200 EMA on weekly time frame for ETH. The last time we had done that was in July. Okay, so really it's not too significant, but still it is something to keep in mind. And again, if we go to that weekly time frame, well, in 6 days, this would be the first time we had closed below the 20 weekly EMA, and then the 12 we had just closed below. So obviously that's concerning to say the least with Ethereum. But overall, like, Ethereum on the weekly time frame looks awful in terms of market structure, lower highs, lower lows. But it generally just looks very, very, very weak, in my personal opinion. And I think 3,000 ETH around like this level here is definitely going to be an area where we're going to be seeing soon. That's my personal opinion. And as we had brought up time and time again in the markets, altcoins have been reacting very, very poorly to Ethereum and Bitcoin once both of those coins start going downwards. We've seen this time and time again. It just does not look good for altcoins, in my opinion. Okay, because altcoins, when Ethereum has been hitting new all-time high, or hit a new all-time high recently, when Bitcoin has been hitting new all-time highs recently as well, altcoins were doing nothing in comparison to how they were performing back in December of 2024 when Ethereum was at around $4,000. So do you guys see how that is concerning, to say the least, when we have all these altcoins that were performing well? And by the way, here's a hype short again. Trend line all the way from May. We have a well-respected trend line, break below that trend line, enter a short, and we're in okay profits right now. But you guys see why I've been so concerned about altcoins. This is something that I brought up. I believe I brought this up in maybe July. I don't remember. Right, but I have brought this up pretty frequently recently. I brought this up weeks ago. I just have never liked recently how alts have been responding to that of Bitcoin, to that of Ethereum, compared to ETH and Bitcoin on the downside and to them on the upside as well. It's very concerning when you see altcoins not really doing too much when Ethereum just hit a new all-time high, right? We're not anywhere near our December all-time highs in 2024. That was concerning to me. And yeah, that was the first big red flag that I had seen within the markets. And again, you have a lot of people also, we're going to be getting into more macroeconomics. I'm going to have that planned out. We'll start integrating that tomorrow, where we'll have more macroeconomic talk as well. It's going to make these videos a little longer because we'll give a technical analysis perspective, take a dive into macroeconomics and the impacts that, current geopolitical tensions. We can look at economic data, a bunch of other things. We can take a look at all of that as well and kind of break that into its own segment also. And then maybe we can do some other, important news that's coming out. Whatever it is, you guys can also comment what you'd want to see on a day-to-day basis, because the point of these videos are to be daily market updates, to share daily updates. What am I doing, right? So I just shared with you guys that I had taken that soul short. I have not been buying anything. I'm pretty much completely out in terms of the spot market. But I will be sharing with you guys, of course, in the bear market video. If you had watched that yesterday, I was talking the plan is, if I go and buy into a coin, with these daily videos, you guys will see it. You guys will hear the coin that I'm buying, why I'm buying that coin, why I'm DCAing into Bitcoin at this level, why I'm DCAing into Ethereum at this level. What are the returns that we can expect when we get into a bull market? Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm very, very excited for the bear market as far as both a trader and a spot holder. I think it's going to be one of the first bear markets that I'm really active myself, and I think it's going to be probably the biggest opportunity that I myself am going to see and I've done pretty well for crypto for my short time in here, and I've learned so much, and I can't wait to learn even more. Hope to help you guys learn something, and for me to continue to learn, because that's a goal, right? So that's essentially the plan. But yeah, we're gonna just break it up into segments. I think just give you guys a regular planned schedule. Recently it's just been technical analysis, and then we have some bonus segment. Yesterday was the bear market plan. The day before that, I forget what it was, but basically here's I think how it'll work. We'll We'll start with a technical analysis overview. We'll then dive into a spot market or we'll then dive into the macroeconomics and any geopolitical tensions that are impacting the markets as well. And then we'll dive into a bonus topic. So this could be like, hey, this is a coin I just bought. This is all about it, right? Or whatever the case is. It'll just be something fun, right? We'll talk about that, and that'll kind of be how it goes. And so what we can do also, and this is up to you guys as well, maybe there's just one thing that we teach during that day. So, you might have heard me talk about EMAs today, but you have no idea what those are. I can explain what those are and how price reacts to that, or etc. Right? We can go over what an exponential moving average is. We can go over supply and demand zones. We can go over all these things. I do have some of this stuff in my free course, which is linked in the description below, completely for free. So you guys can check that out, of course, as well. And then while I'm talking about the resources in the description below, if you guys are looking for a crypto prop firm to go and trade with, there is Hyro Trader in the description below. And if you use the code that will be down there, you'll get 10% off any challenge. But I would highly recommend, if you are even ever going to get into trading, before you ever do, practice, right? Like go onto TradingView, practice charting out a strategy that you found or whatever. But Hyro Trader offers a free trial. It's not one of those free trials where you have to put your credit card in, and if you forget about it, they'll charge you. No, it's a genuine free trial. You try for 7 days, no payment required, and you get to, if you like it, you can continue on. But that is an option there as well. And then if you want to join a group, and I'll explain why I'd really suggest joining a group in crypto, there's a ton of benefits. Kaizen, I've been in there for almost 2 years now, and they have been one of the most reputable, I guess it's been a year, around a year or so, but they've been one of the most reputable teams that I've seen. Brian Jung, of course, it's pretty much his server. He's been a very down-to-earth, credible guy that I've personally known for a decent bit now. I haven't really talked too much of him in a personal sense, but all of our interactions have been really good. There's a lot of cool people in there who are sharing a lot of free information. Of course, you have to pay to be in there. But nonetheless, I would highly suggest, especially in a bear market, joining a group like that, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities that can come your way. And there's just a lot of pros, of course. You can get access to traders with years of experience who can teach you their strategies. But also, there's a lot of signals in there. I personally, if you're going to go and copy trade, learn what you are copy trading, so then you can eventually go and replicate it yourself. Because let's say the server shuts down randomly and you are just dependent on these traders giving you signals, well, then you have no idea how to actually go and place a trade yourself. You're just relying on other people's technical analysis. Well, now you're kind of screwed, right? If that's an income source that you build up and relying on, and it's just now completely cut off, well, then of course you're screwed even more. So learn, right? The point of joining a group like that of Kaizen is to learn. It's linked in the description below. Highly check it out. Highly recommend checking it out. I and a lot of other people I know are in there and have gained so much useful value from it. So that's pretty much everything for today. Just a little quick one. More so, it was just going over our market update and really establishing the structure of these videos. So technical analysis overview, macroeconomic / geopolitical tensions overview, and then finally we will dive into just like a bonus section. And that's going to be it. I will see you guys tomorrow.